four important visuals, okay, related to AI visuals in Power BI, right? So if you try to understand those AI visuals, you'll be able to like understand data better, and maybe it would help you to further analyze the data in a much better way, right? So those four AI visuals, I'll show it in the Power BI. Let us dive into Power BI. Okay, this is our desktop. If you go to Insert tab, okay, here you'll be able to see multiple visuals, and especially there is AI visuals, mentioned here, right? AI visuals, right? And these are important visuals which could help you out in certain scenarios. We'll discuss what are those scenarios. Or else if you open the drop down, right, here there is the same visuals, you can see it here as well, right? And a few more things to understand is that these AI visuals have certain utility. I'll discuss about each visual, right? So let us start with something called key influencers, where we'll try to understand what is key influencers. Okay, so this key influencers visual, it is a visual which will help you identify the key factors, okay, which is influencing a particular metric, whether it is sales or profit or anything. So you'll be able to find out by analyzing both categorical and continuous data, what are the variables, or what are the different columns, or what is the data which is impacting it more, and where must the user or client must focus on, right? Some use cases where you can utilize it in some customer behavior analysis, where you'll be finding some factors related to customer churn, satisfaction, and other things. Similar to that in sales performance, operational efficiency, and some healthcare outcomes, where you tend to see these things, it like utilizing them in key influencers visual. Okay, so we have understood what is it. Let us try to understand it practically. So I'll just click on this, key influencers visual. We need data, right? So we don't have data, right? What you can do is, internally we have some sample data available. You can go to help section, you can take the sample data. You can just load the sample data. You'll be able to load the financials data here, right? So to, to understand the concept, you can just try to take this data set as a practice, and you can try to learn. Okay, we have certain columns. If you if you go to the data, right, we have certain columns: segment, country, product, right? Different discount bands we have. What is the unit sold? What is the manufacturing price? Sale price, gross sales, right? Discounts, the total sales, right? Cost of goods sold, which is the cost, profit, some date, and other relevant columns, right? We have all the necessary items, and we have month number, month name, and year also, right? We have all the necessary columns to analyze. Now let us go to this particular report view, and we'll try to understand this key influencers visual. So in this visual, if you see this, we have three things, right? What is the metric that we are going to analyze, and what is the thing which we want to explain it by? If you want, you can try, if you have additional columns or much more huge data, you can try to play with explain by also, right? So this is a simple data set. We'll understand what to analyze. For example, I'm a user who is more focusing on the profit of a particular organization. Okay, so what I can do is I can bring something related to profit. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll bring this implicit measure. What is implicit measure? Without making a external measure, or you could say explicit measure, if I drag and drop this particular column directly into that respective field, we call it as implicit measure. So if you just right click on that, you can see it is, we mentioned it, don't summarize, right? Or you can do the sum of profit. Okay, then what can we explain by? So here you can analyze in two ways. Okay, what are those two ways? One is categorical, and one is continuous data, right? So categorical, you can understand, the things like country, segment, product, and all those things. Continuous data, you can understand it may be related to dates, related to other numerical columns, and all those things. For example, if I just bring this categorical data, maybe country, okay, maybe discount band, okay, maybe related to product, right, and maybe related to segment, all these things, if you try to analyze, you see the majorly influenced thing, maybe it is relevant to segment, you can see for this, if the segment is government, the average of of profit increases by some particular 91.62k. It will try to analyze and it will try to understand what is influencing the total profit, what is helping to increase and what is helping to decrease. If you see for increment, only this particular government segment, it has some influence on the profit. But if you see the decrement, you have other things, right? Suppose you have this particular segment is enterprise, the average sum of profit decreases by this much, right? Like this, it will show the influence of whatever you are mentioning, and it will choose the respective or relevant column which is truly making influence. Okay, so the backend, there are some algorithms which are running behind in order to identify it. So in like, if you are just like curious, you can go through the respective machine learning algorithms which are running behind by through some Google search. But again, these are how key influencers are impacting the data, right? And if you want to understand the top segments, the value of that particular sum of profit, it is showing the different segmentation. What are the different various range of levels, and what is the population, or is the count of different items according to that. Okay, so you must be able to understand what is the respective useful uh, you could say category in that for our analysis. If you click on format, we have this simple format. Size and style, you can just try to deal with this particular visual size and style here. Okay, in this size and position, and here you can understand, like, adjust the padding. These are some basic like formatting things. I can skip it. Suppose you want border, you can put the border. If you want shadow, you can bring the shadow like this. If you want background, if you want to change the color, suppose if you want to change it to some gray color, you can see that color has changed to gray. Like this, you can make some formatting changes. If you want title, you can mention a title as well. You can just click here and edit your title. If you don't want, you can turn it off, right? You can edit your title here as well in the text box, right? Next, in analysis, whether our data is continuous or categorical, like, it will show us, right? So by default it is continuous, but again, we can, like, turning off, it removes that particular key influencers. Sometimes if at all you don't see this, make sure that it is turned on here. Okay, and if you want counts also, then you can just mention that, so it will just try to understand the counts as well. In the bottom, if you see, whether you want to sort by impact or whether you want to sort by count, you can just make sure that you can turn it on here accordingly, right? You can just turn it on here. And what is the count type, whether it is relative or absolute, you can decide. And what are the top segments? These top segments, if you want, you can just turn it on there, right? Otherwise, you can turn it off. That will be not appearing. Okay. Next thing is, you have something called bubble visual colors. So these colors which you are able to see, you can customize it, right? It is very straightforward and easily understandable. Different colors in this particular visual, you'll be able to customize accordingly, right? Gray color visual or blue color, respective elements, you can customize it. Again, when it comes to chart, okay, this is the default color which we have. Suppose if you want to change the color, you can change the color. You can see how it changes, right? And if you want to change the color of reference line also, you can change. Suppose I want it in the blue color, you can change that color actually. Okay. And also, if you want to see only show that values that are influencers, if you click on that, it will show only those columns which are influencing. Okay, whether for increment or decrement, it will show only those columns. Here, since there is only little data, so it will show all the respective columns which are influencing. But when you use that huge data sets, it will work more effectively, right? So this is about this key influencers when you use this particular categorical data. Suppose I'll remove this categorical data. What I'll do is I'll bring some numerical data. For example, I'll bring total sales, right? Sum of sales. I'll bring something called maybe unit sold. I'll bring this, total cost. I'll bring few things like total average discount. I'll do it. Sum of discount doesn't make sense, right? So you can take average discount. Like this, you can just bring multiple columns which could make sense, right? Suppose you bring your sale price, no influencer. Okay, so this profit metric, you just click on this, don't summarize. then you'll be able to get little more insight so that you can understand what is happening with profit. So suppose if you want to understand average profit related thing, you can see this aggregation will influence. So whatever metric you use, try to not to summarize. Other things you better summarize so that you get appropriate values here. Now let us understand this, what is happening here. Okay. So if you see this, if some of the sales goes up to this particular level, okay, then it average profit would increase by this much. If cost goes down by this much, our profit increases by this much, right? If cost increases, our profit would increase, right? So this is the amount how it would increase for this particular amount. Like that, if sale price goes up, our profit also would increase by this much, right? So similarly, you can see the impact here. For what? For all the sum of sales, for cost, for if discount is provided more than this particular amount, then also it is predicted that this particular amount of profit would increase, right? Similarly, for decrease also, if you check, it will try to analyze and give you some conditions where it is impacting the data. And if you see here, for average of profit and based upon sale price, we have a scatter plot and the trend line, or you could say a kind of a regression line where you could understand how it is varying, right? So this is how key influencers would help you based upon how the data is influencing the major, or you could say target metric, depending on your requirements. See, if I close this, you can see it won't be appearing again, right? So if I could just try to see the top segments, how that profit and population count is impacting, right? Again, if I click on increase, you can see that, right? This is about key influencers visual. We'll try to move ahead and try to understand few more visuals ahead in the AI related visuals, right? So we can name it as something called key influencers. Okay, so I hope we understood about the key influencers visual. Let us move ahead and understand one more AI visual called as decomposition tree, right? So what is this used for? It is a hierarchical visualization which will break down a particular metric into contributing factors step by step. Okay, it supports that manual exploration depending on our requirement, and also some AI driven insights. I'll show you where it splits according to the data. Some of the use cases would be what to analyze the root cause, what is happening based upon the kind of sales which is done, to analyze some performance insights, customer segmentation, as well as to find some operational efficiency, right? If at all break down cost increases by department, then how the other factors are influenced. So this decomposition tree, it is a hierarchical visualization. Okay, I'll just take a new page. I'll try to make a decomposition tree. Okay, so here what we shall do is we shall try to like bring that AI visual. Here you can bring from here also. I'll bring that AI visual, and this is our decomposition tree. By the outside blueprint as well, you can understand how it varies, right? What you can do is you need to give an analyze metric where suppose that I'll bring the sum of sales. I want to understand the net sales. Okay, so you can write a measure. What I'll do is I'll try to write a measure. Suppose total sales is equal to sum of sales, right? Next, let us create one more measure. Suppose total cost is equal to financial COGS. Okay, suppose what we shall do is we shall try to understand. Okay, so suppose we are trying to analyze the sales, right? You can bring the total sales measure as well. It will work the same. What you can do is in explain by, you can introduce all the different columns based upon which you want to create a hierarchical order to decompose the values and see further, how the values are varying. For example, if I want to see the total sales based upon the country, I can put it in explain by. After country, what are the different segments? Maybe in that particular segments, what are the products which are being sold? And after the products, they based upon different discount bands, what is the amount of sales being done. Like this, I can create a hierarchy. Now, how can I see it here? You can click on this plus icon, which is present. Now you'll see two things. Okay. First thing is high value and low value. These two values are, are created by the help of a visual. And these four things are the columns which we provided in this particular explain by, right? If you see this, these are these four columns which are mentioned by me, right? Next thing, if I just click on high value, it will show me what is the highest, sales being done, where in which segment it is being done. You can see government, in government segment, total sales are high. Again, if I click on plus icon, if I just click on high value, it will choose the next particular thing, which is discount band, right? So you can see that low discount band has more sales, right? Obviously, if there are um, like where there is less discount, their sales would have increased, right? Again, if you click on high value, you can see the country wise, right? If you want only in a particular order, then what you can do is you can just close this and you can just choose that particular order. Suppose I want in country basis, you can choose the country basis. Suppose again, if I want a segment, right, product, and then you can choose the respective discount bands. If you see here, there are different products, right? Here there are 5 countries, here there are 5 segments, here there are 6 products, and there are 3 discount bands, right? So you can, if at all there are more than 10 or 15 things, maybe hierarchical, here you'll be able to see a slider, okay, where you can slide and see it. Here you don't have such slider, you can, so that you can understand its direct influence. Okay. Next thing is, what you can understand is, this decomposition tree, it will help you to eh, showcase the insights like dynamically as well. Even it will be influenced by other visuals as well. For example, let me take a slicer. Okay. Suppose that I want to, maybe see it based upon a year. Okay. If I just bring that year column here, and if I just format, I'll make it a vertical list. I have only 2 years, right? If I click on 2013, you see the order has changed, right? If I just click on 2014, orders have changed. Again, if you, instead of year, suppose that you want to bring a product, okay, what I'll do is I'll just remove this. I'll bring this product. Suppose I'll select a product called, Amarilla. You see what happens. There are no discounts available in that particular, for that particular product. If I just select this thing, okay, so no discount bands are appearing, right? Maybe some this discount bands are not relevant to that, maybe, right? But again, as a whole, you'll be able to see that because it is a categorization. Okay, you must understand how data is behaving based upon the respective thing. Like here, what I mean to mention is, as you interact with the different visuals, your data will be, sliced and diced accordingly. Okay. So this is something called decomposition tree, where you'll try to find the details in hierarchical way, and you can understand how it is being influenced accordingly. When it comes to formatting things, here you have in these two things, I hope you are familiar. In analysis, there is something called enable AA splits. So here either you can choose that absolute or relative values. If you turn it off, what happens is, usually whatever you use to get that high value and low value rate, you will not be able to see those, because it is enabled by this particular AA splits here, right? This AA splits will help you to get those high and low values. Next thing, you understand this tree, right? How this particular density is present, whether it is, if you want to keep it sparse, the space will increase, or if you want to keep it dense, it will shrink, right? And the default action, if you want to collapse or highlight all those things, if you want, you can choose that. Suppose if I select this particular product, it will show me this directly, right? Suppose if I filter and maybe filter based upon other things, right, it will necessarily change the way it represents. Okay, I'll select this particular thing. These are some tree settings, and this connectors, whatever you are able to see, you can change its color. Suppose if I change the color, you can see the connectors, whatever it is there, these connectors and these connectors, its color would change. Unselected lines color, if you want to change, you can change it. Maybe if you want to put black, you can see unselected would change to black. right? And these are some connectors and tree settings. You have bars, right? So those bars you can scale it, you can bring, make the manual values to maximize it or minimize it. And if you want to change that positive, but bar colors also you can change. Suppose if I want to change it to a different color, maybe some orange color only. You see, bars it can change. Background you can change. Background if you keep it black, you see the like empty values, it is represented by black color, right? Like this, you can just play with the colors. There are some categorical labels where you can just adjust the font and size of it here. And values, whatever the values represented, you can change the font, color, display units, all those. Suppose you want to keep it in millions, you can see the values are now represented in millions, right? You can just change it from here. Again, headers, you can deal with the title and other things. Subtitles also you can make and create some more, utilize more. You have some conditional formatting which you can opt for total sales. Suppose you want data bar color, and if you just you can give that conditional sales where you can just keep the gradient color. Suppose if you keep the gradient color, you can see higher sales will have darker color, lower sales will have the lighter color, right? So this is a gradient color. Suppose you want to change the color, maybe orange. So you can see what happens, right? If I just, you can just, you can enter a value for minimum and maximum. Again, it would respectively change. Okay, here I just chosen this particular thing, right? Total here, since we already have that respective, thing drilled down, like it will not allow us, but you can try to make some conditional formatting if at all required, right? So in this way, you can try to play with this particular decomposition tree. Q&A visual, it means the questions and answers visual, right? You can understand. So here, if you check this, you'll see this message kind of visual. You can click on that, right? And here you see it by default, prepare some basic questions where we can, where there are possibility of asking. You can click on this show all suggestions. It will show you some suggestions what we can use, right? Suppose you want what is the total sales by country. Okay, you can just ask in a normal terms, right? And if you just submit, it will try to analyze it and it will show me a bar chart, right? And suppose you don't want it and you want to ask something. Suppose I want something called monthly trend in sales. Okay, just a normal question I'm asking. It is able to plot me a line chart immediately. If you want to convert this particular thing into standard visual, you can just select this. Okay, you can see it is now normal visual and you can quickly make it, right? And I'll show you some content. Q&A visual, it is a it uses natural language processing, right, to enable the users to query data sets without needing to write a code or anything manually. If you try to ask the question, it will be able to generate the respective visualizations. It dynamically generates charts, graphs, tables, whatever the required things based upon the user's question. For example, what is the average profit margin by region? Which products have the highest sales in this particular quarter? For ad hoc analysis or from trend analysis or KPI tracking, all those things, this particular Q&A visual can help you quickly, right? So for example, I'll just take out one more example related to Q&A visual. Okay, let me do this thing. Suppose I'll just take this particular Q&A visual. I can take it from here also. And here you can see, I'll just type one more thing. Okay, suppose I want some correlation between sales and maybe profit. Okay, so you can see the question might be relevant. If it is relevant, it will show me in this blue color line. If it is not relevant, it will show me in red color line. If it is somewhere between relevant and non-relevant, it will show me in orange color. Okay, if I just hit enter or you could submit, you can see it is not, it is just trying to aggregate it. If I mention something like scatter plot, let us see if it is able to plot it. Okay, it is using product in values. Okay, now you see based upon the product, it is able to generate a scatter plot between the sales and the profit, right? So there is some product which could be like which has more sales and more profit, which is standing out like an anomaly. Right? Again, if you want, with something called regression line, let us see if it is able to draw. No, right? Okay, no problem. What we can do is we can just make it into a standard visual. Right? This is our visual where we made it by Q&A, right? Just by asking a question. If you want to format it, you can format it. Suppose you can just go to format tab. If at all I want to, see some reference line or trend line, if I turn on that, you can see the trend, right? Like this, you can understand how it is related with each other. For example, I'll take one more, example for you. Suppose you want, there are some segments, right? Suppose segment wise sales in pie chart. I'm just mentioning the chart as well. You see how quickly it is able to generate a quick pie chart for me, right? With some natural, question that I ask it. Like this, you can make multiple visuals. Okay, so suppose you want to create one more visual. I'll just show you how you can quickly ask multiple things. Suppose I want something related to column chart based on total sales using, you can say by discount band. Okay, something like that. You can see by discount band I'm able to get the column chart, right? I can make it to a normal visual. I can do some formatting things related to, maybe I can turn on the data labels, put some make some better formatting and do other things. So this is how Q&A visuals would help you. I'll try to show you one important thing about Q&A visual where you can teach it. Okay, for example, you click on the settings, you'll be able to see this Q&A setup. You can play with this multiple things. Suppose you can give the synonyms, you can review the questions, teach that particular thing and suggest some questions. If you go to synonyms, for each particular column you can just give some particular name. Suppose if I just, for cogs, I understand this is a cost, right? I can click on add, I can give the name. Okay, how this name helps is by improving to ask the questions which you use it in the particular thing. You can improve Q&A with synonyms and helping the copilot and organization. You can add the synonyms, whatever it is present in your organization, it will be imported. Okay, next thing, as I have added the cogs, cost. Now if I go to the cost, this particular visual Q&A visual, now if I ask total cost, okay, or if I ask just cost by country, it will just take me that particular total cost values as well, right? So that is how it will just help you to recognize this thing early. Okay, suppose what I'll do is I'll just go here, go to synonyms. If I just remove this cost, okay, now I have removed it, I'm closing it. Okay, I'll remove this thing. Okay, maybe I'll just try to load the visual again. And if I write something cost by country, okay, maybe it is able to learn it very quickly. Okay, but you can see in the bottom there will be always a small note: content created by AI may be inaccurate, right? Read terms and conditions and use it accordingly. So you must keep this in mind. Don't blindly like don't blindly believe that this values would be very accurate. You must always be ready to value, or you could say validate the data, right? Every report or every visual, whatever that you create, you must always validate. And one more thing is the same thing which I have renamed, or you could say made that particular synonym. You can go to the model tab, right? You can click on this particular column. Here you can see the synonyms, right? Here also you can put a comma and you can just mention that particular thing. So what it does is it will help you to create that particular, like give the multiple synonyms for that column, which can be helpful for you to use in this particular Q&A visual. Okay, so one more thing I would like to tell you. Suppose like you want to make some calculations. Here we have total sales and total cost, right? So what I can do is I can write total sales minus total cost. Okay, you see, it will show me the net output, right? Suppose what I'll do is I'll just take this particular total sales here. It is 118.73 million, and it is total cost. It is 101.83 million, right? You see the net amount, total sales minus total cost, we'll be able to get this 16.89 million. So like this, if this Q&A visuals, you can do that, calculations as well using the measures that you have created, right? In this way, these particular things or this particular Q&A visuals, it will be helpful.
So this one is like a basics of DAX is also applicable over here in the Q&A, because there are a lot of
Uh,
DAX queries are there. So can we
uh,
do similar kind of, can we get similar kind of results with the help of Q&A also?
you can many times there may be mistakes, but not all DAX could be applicable. Some basic calculations could be possible. Since it is AI, it is also learning. You must be able to teach it. How you teach is here. If you just click on this, you have something called teach Q&A. Okay, so here, suppose you want to find out country wise sales or something. Okay, or you just mention it. So you must try to ask more and more questions so that it could understand. Okay, so the more you question it, the more it will try to understand. And like those complex calculations, it will anyway struggle, but some basic calculations, it will definitely do it correctly. Okay, so that is what I have seen. Complex calculation DAX, once you write those measures here, okay, then you'll be able to utilize it in the Q&A very easily. Otherwise, if I just see basic, if I just give that total profit by country, okay, it will understand that there is a profit column. Okay, I have the country column. It will try to aggregate it and do that respective outcome. If I just something mention called margin, okay, profit margin. Now you see the red mark.
So that column name is not available in the data set, it means.
Profit margin is not there. It does margin can't be defined yet. Try defining some other terms first. So you need to teach it. So you need to mention that particular column or measure or anything.
So you
Then
need to refer, yeah, only it works for the existing column values only. For the new
uh,
columns, we need to go for the DAX.
you need to go for the DAX and you need to teach it.
Yeah, thank you.
Once you teach it, then it will learn.
That's okay.
Okay. And if you have some data sets which are in Power BI service, in this you can try to select the data set and further you can do some analysis. Suppose I can select this, I can select it, and further, like it does not have any questions, but if at all there are anything which can be brought here for review questions, it can bring that. If you want to suggest some questions, you can suggest here, and it will try to reorder your suggested questions and help you better. Just like how I have shown you. And there is something called here relationships. If you want to create relationship based upon grammatical things, okay, so you can see preposition, adjective like this based upon some grammatical things, you can create a relationship based upon the grammar. Like you might feel that what is the relevance of it, but again, based upon the subject utility, you can just use this particular linguistic relationships between the data, right? So these are some like settings which could help you out to teach the Q&A visuals better because it uses that NLP in the backend. Okay. Suppose if you want to learn more, you can you can click over the link here. It will take you to the documentation and you can just even go through more. Okay. And documentation is very great in Power BI. You can just try to dive deeper and understand many things. I'll show you
Could you
one
please?
smart narrative. Okay. The smart narrative we have, the smart narrative visual, it is a driven feature which will automatically generate some textual summaries for our data, right? Whatever the like visuals which we have, it will try to share that insights in a plain language, making the data easier to interpret and share with some stakeholders, right? Users. So it will be helpful in creating different reports, and also you can understand, it will help us to create insights and textual summaries and all those things very quickly. Okay, I'll show you how it helps. Okay, so what I'll do is we have made some visuals here, right? So this is our Q&A. These are some visuals which we have made by Q&A, or normally also you can make these visuals. But again, if you click on the smart narrative, okay, so the smart narrative, by if at all you have that, premium license, you will get this, Copilot. For now, we can just click on this custom. So when you click on the custom, you see based upon the visuals which are present in my report, it has created a lot of content which is, helpful insights, right? Manually, if you try to understand, you might, mistake things. Suppose if I just, select one particular thing, you can see values also will change accordingly, dynamically. Now, suppose, there are these, these are some content which is helping me to, provide some good insights. And for example, you need to, like, you can't provide this directly to your, or you cannot mention this thing directly in your report. So what I can do is I can just copy this, take some, chat GPT help. I can just paste it here. What I'll do is I'll mention something like this. Okay. Please convert these insights into some impactful statements to utilize in reports. Okay. This is some statement which I have mentioned in the bottom. Let us see how it will generate for us. All right. Now you can see it would generate a proper, with proper headings, sales growth overview. Okay. Acceleration in sales, steepest growth in growth phase. What was it? How is the performance by discount band? Right. Like this, it has made some, good points, which can give the client, some brief understanding about how the data, performed. Other things which you manually, or which you manually do, that will anyway help. But this is some static data which you can directly mention. And if you want dynamic data, you must leave these things alone. And you can just, wherever it is not selected like this with blue line, you can try to type it or edit it. Okay, that is also fine. So this is something called smart narrative, where you can create the narrative automatically with the help of AI. And in the formattings, there are nothing much. You can see there is only size and style and title, which you can edit it. Apart from this, these four visuals, I hope you are able to understand how it has helped us to, drive, or you could say derive some good insights related to our data, right? So this is all for, this is all for today related to AI visuals. Please feel free to ask if there are any queries.